remarks. You said a whole lot of good things. Actually, you kind of preempted me because those are some of the things I wanted to talk about. But absolutely great welcoming remarks. I want to, I see a lot of familiar and some not familiar faces. I do want to make special mention. Farmer Rep Sarceo, good evening. Thank you for being here. Farmer Mayor Daniel Guerrero, thank you for being here as well. Certainly this kind of initiative has garnered the kind of interest that it deserves. And so we are very thankful for the opportunity to share this with you. So we don't want to keep you here too long tonight, but I will tell you that we don't want to keep you here, we want to keep you here long enough. But I will say from now, let's go from now until about 8 o'clock. Let's not leave too early, but let's not leave too late. But of course, a lot of it has to do with the kind of questions that you're going to ask. So myself and my colleague, we have put together in the department a presentation to you. We want to review some background information, and then we want to talk a little bit about the town council. And we want to talk about the town council in terms of where you are and where you sit as residents, as business community with the town council. And we're streaming live tonight, so if you have people to join us on Facebook, feel free to ask them to join and to share the live. And then we want to talk about the proposed redelineation. We want to talk about the proposed maps as they compare to the current map for San Pedro. And then we get into the questions and answers. So we're good now with the logistics, right? Very good. Thank you so much. So let's look at one of the first slides that we want to review. In terms of our towns and city council boundaries, and particularly for towns, there's something called the Town Boundaries Act in law, Chapter 340 of the Laws of Belize, which gives the minister under Section 3 the authority to fix and declare boundaries for any town that is mentioned in the Town Council Act. So the minister, who is the Minister of Local Government that is responsible for towns across Belize, has the authority to fix and declare boundaries for towns. That's a legal reference. But the minister can't sit in Belmopan and decide where the boundaries will be. The minister has to know what's going on the ground. He has to know what is the vibes of the people. And that is why we do these things that we're doing now. We consult, we talk to the people. So what we are going to see tonight is what we are proposing for the minister to fix and declare. And we anticipate that what we propose to the minister is practical, is reasonable, is rational, it makes sense. But there are 4 things I want to highlight and reiterate to you tonight, and the mayor alluded to some of them. And I'll start by talking about it in a very simplified way. On this island called Ambergris Caye, or in this town called San Pedro, there are some questions that we who are here, basically as adults, have to ask ourselves. Where will the people of San Pedro live, work, and play in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, in the next 30 years, in the next 40 years, in the next century? What will San Pedro look like? What will Ambergris Caye look like in the next 10, 20, 30 years, in the next 100 years? So my question to you, or my reference to you, is that when you come to this meeting tonight with us, I want to ask you to open your minds to what is the vision you have for this island. What do you see? And what you see is important, but it is not going to be about any one of us in this room tonight. Because what you see, you will not benefit from. Because we'll be all gone. That's the truth, right? What you're going to see is not what is going to be about you and me and my children, maybe. But it's going to be perhaps about you, about your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. So I'm going to ask you to open your minds and be as visionary as you can about what you see and feel for where the people who is going to live on La Isla Bonita, on Ambergris Caye, where they are going to live, work, and play. And then if we think about that vision and we see that vision, the other thing that I'm going to ask you is, how are we going to manage development? Where are we going to put the bus stations? Where are we going to put the new school? Where are we going to put the big hospital? Where are we going to put the airstrip? Where are we going to put the boat terminals? Where are we going to put the health clinics? Where are we going to put all of those things that deliver services? Where are we going to put the new banks? Where are we going to put everything that we want as the services, the green spaces, the football fields, the basketball stadium, the track and field track? Where are we going to put it? So we have to think strategically about where those things are going to be on this island called San Pedro. And then we have to think about those development activities and how we are going to manage them. How are we going to control those development activities? Are we going to allow any and everybody to just build what they want, how they want, when they want? Or are we going to say this area is just for this kind of development, that area is just for this kind of, that area is just for this? So in other words, we are going to control the use of the land. As we see around right now, you answer the question, are we doing a good job of controlling the land use? That's the question that we have to ask ourselves. And then from an operational standpoint, and there are 4 things I'm talking about: vision, strategic planning, development activities, and then the last thing is operations. How are we going to govern the space? Because somebody has to govern something. We can't be in no man's land, right? We got to be in somebody's land. And so we have to have a governance structure to control planning and the development activities that we are going to say we want to do. So as we go through tonight's discussion, I want to ask you to focus a lot on those 4 things that I'm talking about. And please allow me to welcome the representative, Honorable Andre Perez. Good evening, Minister, and thank you for being here. We just started, by the way, so I missed nothing yet. So the minister has the authority, the local government minister has the authority to fix and declare boundaries. But that's not how we operate. We talk, we consult, we sensitize. And so we have these kinds of forums. And I want to hear from the people of San Pedro tonight. So we'll have that space to do that. Let's look at the next slide, Michelle. So, as we see here, the current boundary for San Pedro goes back to 1993. The town was established in 1984, and the boundary was formally established in 1993 via an SI, a statutory instrument number 79 of 1993. So that gives the formal boundary. And what it does, it really gives the boundary from the coast. The map does not really show it because it's all the way in the sea at the reef, but it's really from the south end all the way up to, along the coast, up to the reserve, near the boundary of the, it's called the Bacalar Chico Reserve, way up that side. Back in 2012, we began this consultation process, and I'm glad that former Mayor Guerrero is here, because I remember as a young local government officer, Mr. Nunes is his name, a councillor at that time, is his name, an older gentleman, Mr. Alberto Nunes, I believe. I believe that's the name, I may be wrong. But put me in a very small boat as a local government officer and took me all the way up to the, help me, the Bacalao Chico. There's a channel. Took me in a small boat, and the mayor put me in a boat, you know. And the three of us went with the gentleman from Natural Resources, and we went all the way up north, and we began tracking what we would have wanted to propose to be the boundary of the town. And I have never been so scared in my life, because when we came through the channel, and we went and we saw, I thought it was the top of some houses. I saw whiteness, and it was really the waves. And I was so scared, I tell you. But that's when we began this work from 2012. I think Mayor Noah was a councillor in that council. And so you've been around this project for a long time. So from 2012, we started to do this work. And for various reasons, it stalled. But when the new administration came to government in 2021, Cabinet said, why not do it? Why not finish this project? And so back in 2021, we brought back the boundary project, and we are doing this now with 7 tongues across Belize, Punta Gorda, Dangriga, Corozal, Orange Walk, San Pedro, Benqueviejo, San Ignacio, and Dangriga. And I've been in Dangriga and PG for this week, and now I'm here in San Pedro, and next week we do the same kinds of meeting countrywide. But what we want to take back to Cabinet is the views of the people on the proposal. And Eric will tell you, Mayor will tell you that we have sat down in several meetings to discuss what we would like to propose to the people as the new boundaries for the town. And so that is sort of the long and short of the background information. But before we get to the proposals, there is some critical information I want to share with you as the residents of this town and stakeholders in this town. The function, the duties, and responsibilities of a town council. And there are some critical ones that we want to go through. And as you are looking at this, we should be asking ourselves some questions. Under the Town Council Act, the Town Council is responsible for the construction and maintenance of the town's infrastructure. It's a huge job, a big, big job. Drains, streets, culverts, walkways, parks, playgrounds. We'll get to that one too, but just infrastructure, construction and maintenance. So my question is, where are we with the construction and maintenance of the town's infrastructure? I think the short answer is that we have a lot of work to do. You see right now the issues with the congestion, the vehicle flow. So there's a lot of talk about what are alternative streets and drains and roads that we need to build. We started a lot of them already, but we need to do more. But this is a responsibility, a function, and obligation of the town council. So it's not a light job. It's not something that we're to take lightly. It's the town council responsibility to build the infrastructure of the town. Another critical responsibility is the management of parks and playgrounds. Some people get vexed with the town council when they tell people, listen, we can't have liquor in the park. We can't have liquor in the playground. We can't do this here, we can't do, because that is part of management. And it is the function of the town council to manage parks and playgrounds. But how much parks and playgrounds we have on what we call San Pedro right now? I don't know if I don't want to give a wrong answer, but I think that maybe like 2. I mean, a little bit more. But we need more. We need proper spaces for our children to play. Where our children play, where will they play? So managing parks and playgrounds is something that we have to address. Because if we're going to increase the quality of our lives, we have to have play spaces. Let's look at the next one. Market management. We have an artisan market there, right? But we don't really have proper fruit, vegetable, and the other kind of markets that we have across Belize. So we need a proper market. And it's very clear that we need more than just one market. We need one that's central, we need one that's south, we need one that's north. So we have to build this kind of infrastructure, and it is the council responsibility to do this. The fourth one is the collection of refuse and the disposal of refuse. And it's secret, right? Well, it's not a secret. All the refuse that we created at San Pedro, we either put it in at the sea, we burn it, or we send it at the mainland. We either put it in at the sea or the lagoon, we burn it, or we send it at the mainland. Yes? You don't think some people put their garbage in at the sea? Oh, yes. Yes, I'm talking about what they do. Oh, no, but the reality is that some people put it in the sea, some people put it in the lagoon, and then some people burn it, and then some people send it to the mainland. And the truth of the matter, none of those things are good. None of them are sustainable. None of them are friendly. So what are we going to do with our refuse? We have a landfill, we have a transfer station, or we have a landfill at mile 24 on the Western Road, but that has a life. So now, Mayor, we have to start to think about alternative waste management. We have to create some urban gardens. We have to create some composting. We have to chop up all of everything and create compost. So we have to do something different with garbage. That what we call garbage, that a lot of people in the rest of the world call gold. So we have a job to do something with that, unless we want to continue to just either put it in the sea, burn it, or send it to the landfill. And we have to look at how we can turn this into something that is worthwhile. The rest of the world will do it. We could do it here in Belize too. We can. But as we are growing this tongue and growing this island, management of infrastructure, management of parks and playgrounds, management of refuse, management of public spaces are important. A fifth one, cemeteries and public spaces. Where are we going to bury our dead? Where are we going to bury our loved ones? Where are we going to bury our loved ones? How are we going to bury them? What are the alternative ways are we going to do that? Well, I don't tell my people, and I say it publicly, feel free to cremate me, I'm good with that. And then you distribute me evenly. All right? So I'm good with that. I hope you all are good with that too, because we don't have enough land space for that. We can't be buried on the land, all of us. So we have to look at serious ways. And at the State Minister, the Public Health Department have to seriously start to talk about this thing where we don't feel comfortable with. Where are we going to be buried? Because the same place where we live on right now, people may bury 100,000 years ago. I don't want that for my children. So we should not want it either. So we have to find alternative ways to deal with that. And then the sixth one is traffic management. Wow. Wow. Huge concern on the island of San Pedro. In the tongue of San Pedro, on the island of Ambergris Caye. Traffic management. Importation of vehicles, kinds of vehicles that are coming, types of vehicles that are coming, road networks, one-way street, two-way street, no entry, stop sign, a whole gamut of things. How are we going to manage traffic that it is safe for everybody to use the roadways that we have in this town? And it is the job of the council to do it the right way, but they need your support. And this, I mean, every time I come here and I come off the plane or come off the boat, particularly when I come off the plane, man, and we have to navigate. I have to watch the driver has to watch me, I have to watch the bicycle man, I have to watch the motorcycle guy. It is not easy. And then the big trucks that are coming into town with the supplies. It's a reality. We need this stuff, but we have to also regulate it. How are we going to regulate it? Time for stoplights. Time for alternative routes. And I'll give you this one. Time for a bypass. A huge bypass, north to south. Freeway. And then we have exits. We come into town. Visionary thinking. That is where we maybe need to go, right? But it take money. You can take public-private partnerships. You can take investments. You can take sober thinking. And so when we're talking tonight about the expansion of the town boundaries, we're talking about expanding the roles and functions of the town council with the support of the office of the area representative. Because they go together. It's not two separate things. The interest of the area and the interest of the town council is the same. How do we build a better society for the people of San Pedro? And so in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to reflect on these duties and obligations of our town councils. Let's look at the next slide. So every year, there's a budget process that the council goes through. From April to May, the Honorable Minister of Finance gives the council the authority to spend XYZ amount of money. As it is right now, San Pedro Town Council is one of those councils that are collecting its revenue. But the revenues that it is collecting is not sufficient to deliver the services that you desire. It is not sufficient. So if we look at the next slide, you could see some budget figures versus some budget versus some actual. And on an average, over the last 5 years, the council is collecting over 100% of its budget. But this is not sufficient to do the work that it needs to do. And it is the amount that it budgets is what it believes it can collect. It's what the council believes that it can collect. It is not what it can collect. As a matter of fact, our estimates from the analysis that we do is that the council is only budgeting about 20% of what it actually can collect. I'll put that into perspective. When you take an aerial view of San Pedro, you see the potential for the San Pedro to collect its revenue. But there is a high level of non-compliance. A high level of non-compliance. Thank you for all of those who are very compliant. But there's a high level of non-compliance. In some municipalities, the non-compliance is about 7 out of every person who comply. Here in San Pedro, it's probably like 4 out of every 10 not comply, which is better. But for any government to work, there has to be compliance. So the challenge that I always have for our council, and Mayor Wally knows this very well, Mayor Rowe knows this very well, we push our councils to govern the right way. Be accountable, be transparent, build confidence in the people of your municipality to be compliant with you. Because when you want services, you expect the council to deliver the service. So it's important that we do that. Next slide, Ms. Shirley. So as we look over the years, the council, particularly over the last 2 years, 2021, 2022, 23, has been operating, from 2018, 2019, the council has been operating on a slight surplus, and then over the last 2 years, we have seen it increase. Which means that there is more coming in, and if you look at this 2 line here, this is income and this is expenditure. So we're seeing what you want is that this begin to open wider so that there's more money to do investments. And we're seeing this growth, but it has to be steady growth, particularly now that we're considering to expand the boundaries. It's very critical. Let's look at the next slide. So we see budget versus actual, and we have seen the increases over the years. And particularly for 24-25, the council is intending to collect more monies to do more in this current fiscal year 24-25. Let's go to the next slide. All right, we are getting to the meat of the matter now, but before we go there, before I hand over to my colleague, any reflections that you want to have? Yes. Next. Yes. Yes.
2019, 2021, that's because of COVID, right?
Yes, 2020, 2021, which started from around 2019, 2020. Yeah. So, the projection is good. The path is work, but there's work to do. Any other questions, any other comments anybody want to make? And we're live streaming, so Dan will remind me that we want to capture the comments live. So if you have any questions or comments about what I shared in terms of context, feel free to share. Anybody? I guess you have everybody want to go. Yes, sir. I'll ask you to kindly identify yourself and then turn to the audience so that Dan could pick you up for Reef TV.
Good night. Good night, good night. Billy Leslie, San Pedro Tour Guide Association. I want to go to one topic, and this topic is frustrating all of our citizens, and this is traffic. The congestion of traffic here is terrible. We can go into the golf cart rental people. There's 7 there parked out there where a renter comes and he parks it there. He goes over to the water taxi area and he takes people and he comes here, picks it up and goes to take it there. When within the town council they have said you have to have your rental place and your parking place back there. But yet it is allowed. They get away with it. The other day there was a big fight up in front there with those guys. Nobody could tell them anything. That has to be controlled. But my most dissatisfying one are the big trucks. The big trucks that are digging away our strong part of the island. They're taking away the substrate to come down to the lower part where the mangrove ecosystem, which is the nursery to our coral reef, is being buried to become land. And there's only a few owners that are benefiting there. We have to take the inconvenience of dust, dirt. If you put one of these trucks on a traffic test, they all fail. You cannot tell me you don't see that a truck's muffler is going to the ground and you will give him a license for the next year. You cannot tell me the law says there should be no tinted glass on vehicles and these trucks can pass with tinted glass. So somewhere we're failing to follow through. They're killing tomorrow for a few owners of companies. And the saddest part is that we're not seeing. Many of the marine biologists will tell you that it will happen. On our next storm, next hurricane that passes here, with delineation that we're looking at will probably be different. We'll have 4 islands because opening and breaking the hardest part of our island should not have happened. None of those have gone through an EIA. None of them. Okay. And we're just destroying our island. Now, imagine we're talking about better living. It is so sad to take your kid to school. It is so sad to see how these trucks just barge right in front of you. I changed the time I sweep my street, and everybody in here knows I am thankful that I got cement in front of my street. So I sweep it. I wish many other citizens would do the same. But now I have to be careful. I get up at 5 o'clock so that I'm not within the truck area, but now they're running from 2, 3 in the morning. And I have to be careful because they're buzzing down. I'm certain the minister hears it when he's trying to get his rest, because they love bah, 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 making this big noise when they're coming through town. All right. That part is disheartening. Disheartening for 4 people that are making the money. A few truck owners, a few drivers, and what? To destroy our island for tomorrow. Right. We have to watch that.
All right, Mr. Alessi, I have to get to the, okay, so just a comment you wanted to make. That's right. All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the comment. So we have highlighted the critical functions and duties of the Town Council. And at this time now, I'd like to ask my colleague now, Ms. Humes, to share with us what the proposed redelineation looks like. Ms. Humes?
Good night, everyone. Now we will be displaying the map as well as imagery that shows the current as well as the proposed municipal boundary for San Pedro Town. So this image is what Mr. King showed earlier. This actually shows the existing an official boundary for San Pedro Town. This map was generated by LIC, the Land Information Center, in the Lands and Surveys Department, Ministry of Natural Resources. This was generated with the use of ArcGIS, which is a web-based mapping system, and it involves the interaction of different data sets so that when they overlay on each other or superimpose on each other, you get a better perspective of what the results are. This is a map that shows the existing municipal boundary compared to the proposed. The existing is the one in yellow and the proposed is the one in red. I will use Google Earth so that you get a better vision of it. I don't know why you like nothing. Sorry. Doctor, come meeting me. Just music from there. Okay, easier there. Okay, I don't know what to. Okay. Okay, so this is basically the same yellow line in the official map that shows the existing and current municipal boundary for San Pedro Town. So just to dive deeper into it, again, it's at the border of Bacalar Chico Reserve, then east along the entire coast of San Pedro Town. Then south, it runs along the Boca Chica area, I think this area. It excludes Siete Canales and Cayo Cangrego. This one? This one? Oh. Yes. So then it goes northeast. It includes Cayo Romero, Turtle Island, as well as Cayo Espanto. It goes all the way to this point. So it goes northeast or more to the east, and it excludes Secret Beach. And it runs along, I would want to believe this is a natural feature here. Again, excluding Cayo Francis Lagoon and Brasilete. All the way to the north, back to the Bacalar Chico Reserve boundary. So this is the original or the official boundary for the San Pedro Town. So now looking at the proposed, which is shown in red. Again, it starts at the border of Bacalar Chico Reserve. This is just a bit of displacement, the way how it is shown on Google imagery. This runs along the coast, the east, all the way along the coast. There's a bit of amendment here, so it runs along the Boca Chica Lagoon or water body. So this portion is exempted. This is excluded in the proposed. Again, it includes Cayo Rosario, Turtle Island, and Cayo Espanto, However, it now includes Secret Beach, but excludes Cayo Rosario. So the entire island is now included in the proposed. It also includes Brasilete, which is this area here, and it goes along the natural features of the key and comes back along the border of the Bacalar Chico Reserve back to the coast. So for the existing current boundary, the total acres is approximately 21,720 acres. And the new or the proposed redelineation is 34,028 acres. So that's an increase of 12,308 acres. So this basically shows the proposed as well as the existing and how it overlaps on each other. So this is what we hope would spark the discussion tonight.
Mic check. Thank you very much, Ms. Humes. So based on the discussions that we've been having with the Town Council and the Office of the Rep, so the proposal now is to essentially regularize and normalize what the expansion looks like. Incidentally, you all know better than me. We discussed this here at the Town Council. A lot of the residents from these areas come to the Town Council for services, and naturally the Town Council provide a lot of the services to these areas. But now it is expanding and making that the obligation of the Town Council go beyond, particularly for this new area up here, the entire Secret Beach area, to come back down, and these areas in the farther north. And then, of course, these persons who are living on these islets can now rely on the council. And this is an expansion of their obligation. And I tell me, Awale, at least for the next 2.5 years, you have your job cut out for you and your council, because there's work that people are going to expect. There's also the expectation that you get services, that you provide the requisite fees to get these services. The council has to rationalize having education sessions with persons who live in these areas, talking to them about their obligations. We don't expect that the council is going to be hard and heavy and come down hard on people and say, no man, we talk about how we incrementally begin to work with you to get the work done in your areas and how you comply with your obligations to the town. And so this is what the job of the council will be like over the next few years. We're hoping that after we have concluded these sensitization sessions and we can go back to cabinet and provide a feedback on the results of these meetings, but we're hoping that if all goes well, that by August of this year, we would have had newly established boundaries for the town, and that for the next fiscal year, come April 2025-26, the council can then begin to integrate these new areas into its planning, its development planning, and the operations of the town council. So in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen, that is what the proposal looks like. And now we're going to open the floor for questions and feedback and comments, of course. Please stand so that we could. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the acknowledgement. We have a roving microphone. We want to ask you to kindly identify yourselves. And then if you could go directly to a few comments is okay, but if you could go to your question, we'll appreciate that.
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the presentation. My name is David Arnold. My wife and I own Casa Cava Bed and Breakfast out at Secret Beach. And, I guess a couple of questions. The present map indicates that the Secret Beach area, the whole Grand Belize Estates, is not part of San Pedro town, but taxes are being collected, so money from the Secret Beach and Grand Belizean estates are filtering into San Pedro. So that's just one observation comment. We're already kind of contributing to the town presently, even though we're not, officially on the map. The second point or question would be, with the new proposed delineation, would now that money that presently is being paid with taxes go to support the infrastructure out at Grand Belizean Estates and Secret Beach with the roads, the wastewater management? That's a huge concern of mine, is wastewater management. Pollution of the waters, pollution of the land with unregulated septic systems. So that's a huge concern of mine. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the question and for the comment. We really appreciate that. It is something that we also recognize, and it's not difficult to navigate, but I'll tell you how, or at least I like to share how I think we can navigate it. This redelineation effort is really attempting to regularize and normalize some practices. Indeed, we have recognized across the country in various municipalities that persons have been contributing to the revenue pool of the councils through various, and I'll get to those right now. But invariably, in many of these instances, people outside of town boundaries are receiving services from the town, are receiving. Now, the consistency, the quality, the efficiency of those services can be questioned in many instances. Now that we are moving towards these proposals, those kinds of dynamics that you're talking about are the same matters that I'm saying to the town council. You have to navigate with the persons who have been living in these areas and who perhaps have been paying their taxes or paying their fees and so on. There are a few of those fees, though, that you would have been obligated to pay whether you're in the town or not. For example, you live on Secret Beach, if you have a liquor license, you would have been required to have a liquor license, so you were required to pay that despite or regardless of where you are. You are required to have a liquor license. But things like, and we're being open, things like property taxes, trade license, and so on, you could question those. But invariably, across the country, I'll give you an example. There's a community in Orange Walk, and I'm not trying to justify my answer or rationalize it. I'm saying to you, before I give the example, these are the kinds of things that the town council will need to navigate with persons in those areas, because now you have a legitimate expectation that you will receive certain services. And the governance of the council and operations of the council will address those matters. There's an area in Orange Walk town called, or outside of Orange Walk town called San Lorenzo. It's been there for a number of years. You go to Orange Walk and you look at the boundary of Orange Walk, they are outside of the boundary of Orange Walk. But that community has benefited for years from the services of the town council. Paved streets, drains, infrastructure, parks, playgrounds, and they have never been obligated to pay any of the fees. As a matter of fact, we could count the amount of persons that pay. But those are the dynamics that the town council will be required to navigate. I've already said to the mayor, and the mayor knows this very well. We don't expect that tomorrow or in August, the minister fix and declare the boundary, and the next day they come to your door and say, you owe me taxes. No, we are talking about development. We're talking about strategic planning. We're talking about how do we make that western side of San Pedro a robust economic zone that are creating jobs for all the people who are going to live here. Where that entire area are going to have its public facilities, schools and playgrounds and parks and those types of things. That will make your community better and safer. Those are the kinds of things that we're looking for. So we appreciate your concern very much, and we're saying it publicly, Mayor, that these are the kinds of challenges that we will have to navigate because it's a part of the reality. So thank you so much for the question. Minister, you have a question? Where's the microphone? Oh, it's at the back. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I know you were just limiting it to questions. Well, first of all, good evening to everybody. Apologies for a bit late. I'm actually sneakers and not normal for me here. I was down in Toledo, along with the Prime Minister, seeing the communities with the huge fires you all seeing in the news, how serious it is, economic damage, livelihoods have been affected, and an ecological disaster, basically. And we must keep watch. So I just came back a bit on the last flight, so bear with me. I'm happy to be here, and of course acknowledge the mayor, the council, and everyone else here from the government and the ministry. Mr. Arnott, you had a very good point to note here. And I think the good comparison that Mr. King did is mentioning about the area of San Lorenzo, which is just up north of the municipality of Orange Walk Town. And indeed, that is true. And first of all, thank you for paying your taxes. It goes and it's going, and it's not being squandered, it's being put to good use. I can tell you that the council is very much engaged, and as well as the government of Belize and BTB very much engaged with what Secret Beach it really is. It is a place that has potential to develop in a place that even if you go through, if you Google Secret Beach, it's one of the most pristine beaches across the world, simply because of no sargassum and the warm waters. So we got to preserve it. We have to give it value. However comes the infrastructure. Well, we all know the power crisis that we're having. It is a crisis. We cannot ignore it in terms of BEL trying to play catch up in the fast development of this whole country as the economy roars along. And yes, we do realize as well, along with the council, the work that they do there, the fixing up of those roads, they do that work by the municipality, and as well as the Ministry of Tourism, very much shortly, I think very soon to start with, Mayor, is the paving of 1 mile. But this one will start from Secret Beach all the way 1 mile of paving, concrete, I understand. And then BTB is committing, that is BTB. Then MIDH and government is committing to another mile. So that is part of the infrastructure bringing in, although we might see, hey, I shouldn't be paying taxes, but I wanted to highlight that it is important that we are committed to working, and henceforth we're pushing to expand the municipal boundaries. So that's so for you to understand. I believe that electricity would have been there much earlier. Shouldn't have we had that kickback, knowingly that BL was struggling to provide energy for this island. And finally, in terms of the sewer system infrastructure, BWSL is working along with the municipality and the government to secure national lands to allocate, which we did not have any at all in the past. We now have secured a piece of property, and it's of several acres, right? It's huge, for sewer system, water expansion. So that in itself, because we know what is going to happen up north. So that is important that you should understand. I want to share with you. So thank you very much. Not too sure. I can't pinpoint it on the map, but it's up north, and it's a piece of property, and it's huge. But that is part of what BWSL has applied to government, and more than likely it's going to be approved because it is necessary. It is a necessity. All right?
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you for the intervention, Minister. Any other questions, comments?
Hi, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Christine Syme. I am born and raised San Pedrana. I am a business owner. I am a landowner. I'm a homeowner. I plan to be here for the rest of my life and grow my family here. And my family has been a part of development here on the island for over 40 years. It's very promising and encouraging to hear that the government is looking for plans for the future to rectify the situation that the town is in and put forth a plan for the future of our island. So thank you very much. We cater on the island to a high-end visitor. As we all know, it costs thousands of dollars for a plane ticket to get here. It costs thousands of dollars for a family to get here by plane from the international airport. It costs thousands of dollars for golf cart rentals and hotels. And so we also find that we are catering to a luxury traveler who is not sparing any expense to visit La Isla Bonita. Unfortunately, the town pales in comparison to what is expected. As mentioned, there is too much congestion. There is poor town planning, which started 40 years ago when everyone just put their house and business wherever they wanted, and lack of zoning. I'd also like to mention that there is a lack of police presence, lack of fire presence, lack of expediency for our hospital, the dust in our streets, the stray animals, the borrachitos, and the list goes on. All of these responsibilities that were outlined for the town council from today, with the funds that are allotted to us, we can only do the bare minimum, and we can see that every day that this is not enough. It is understood from the information that I've gotten from the lands registrar that Ambergris Caye alone in land sales and taxes collected by central government from stamp duty on the island for property sales is $4.5 million monthly. I believe that our town council needs more support from our central government to help our maintenance of current infrastructure and the development and preparation for our future. Thank you very much for everybody's time.
Thank you very much for the very articulated and well put together intervention. Certainly, what you have said has resounded. It's resounding, so thank you so much for that. Anybody else? Okay, I see 1, 2, 3. I think first right here. 1 second. I think it's on. Right?
Yes, hello. Yeah, my name is Roberto Camul. I have a question. I am looking at the boundary lines. How do you all came up with that boundary line?
Which one of them?
The proposed one.
Give me a
The yellow one has been there. That's our boundary right now. The red line for the expansion. How did you guys come about zoning that whole area now? Was there a study done, a proper study done in order for us to have all of that boundary line now? And I don't know if our council knows or is prepared to handle that bigger portion, but I do believe that it's needed. So that was my question. How did you all come up with that?
Well, thank you for the question so much. No? So, if you could take off the current boundary issues. If you take off, so one of the first things that we did was to, if you look at the current boundary, it went beyond the help me there, Boca Chica. So what we agreed to do was to use the lagoon, the creek, the channel, sorry, that's the correct word, the channel as the marker. And then if you notice on the yellow line, it was using the reef as the marker, and it is the coast. So we did that. But essentially, the only thing that we did, if you put the yellow back, Ms. Humes, the only thing that essentially happened was to increase the boundary in this area here. Now, why this area? Because what we're seeing is this, most of the current development is happening in this area, particularly here. And it was really to capture these areas here, because this is where we see the substantive development happening. And because of what it is, we're so centralized. A lot of the services for these areas come from Belmopan. And we're on this island, and the closest government to these people here is the town council. And so what this initiative is taking is, from an incremental standpoint, was to really just take this line and take it up this way, so that the town council will have the jurisdiction over the development initially. Of course, there are some services that the ministries have to provide, but the town council is the initial overseer, oversight, monitoring of the development in these areas. And what is more critical now is that the town council now, as was indicated earlier, now has an obligation to look at the development planning, not only for this area, but for the entire area. It's unfortunate that the tongue is what it is already. But the future does not have to look like how it looks now. But you have to give somebody jurisdiction over it that lives here, that is here, that the people here decide on the governance of this area.
Okay, thanks for clarifying. And the reason why I asked that question is because everything that falls within the present boundaries right now, there's a lot of development happening in Secret Beach and different other places, millions of dollars being invested in infrastructure with investors. We get a lot of approvals for buildings and so on that bypass our town council, and those get approved directly from Belmopan. And when they get approved directly from Belmopan, then it jumps our local government, and then things that are not supposed to be happening are happening.
Yes.
Cayo Rosario is a perfect example. It was excluded from the boundaries, which means that whatever development happens there, our town council has no jurisdiction with the development of that specific area. And if you look at the map, look at that bajo, you see that white line that you see all along it? Yes, that is a pristine area. It's a nursery, it's an area for fly fishermen, and it is not a part. So we are always faced with the situation that these developments come approved from Belmopan, and our council has no jurisdiction on it. So I believe that it is something to be considered, to put those islands that are immediately part of Ambergris Caye as part of that boundary.
Thank you so much for the intervention. When we were doing this exercise, there were lots of discussions around those very same things that you're talking about. But we have a reality check, right? And one of the things that we have said, we have decided on, from the time we have to be extremely mindful of the size of the pie where we bite. So I have two things to say to you, but the short answer is that the last time the boundaries was done in 1983, that's how many years ago? How much? About 30 years? About 31 years. We should not take another 31 years to do this exercise again. But this is the first approach that we're taking to doing it. And I will tell you, as the gentleman was saying a while ago, we have to be extremely mindful of the size of the pie that we're going to bite. Because as the town council builds its jurisdiction, the level of responsibility grows. The level of legitimate expectation that those, just as the gentleman said from Secret Beach, he was not in town, but now he can come reasonably, rationally and say, town council, when I last time to congregate my area, man, I pay my tax. Every year I pay my trade, I pay my liquor. What is also important is that the town council builds its capacity. And the mayor knows this, so I could say, there is a need for a community planner and urban planner for the town council. Qualified trained person who could do community planning, who can do urban planning. There's a need for other development specialists at the town council who are employees of the town council. There's a need for enforcement, the improved enforcement arm of the town council to monitor these violations that are happening. And that capacity is yet to be built, but that is part of the strategic planning that the council needs to do. So I am totally mindful of what you're saying, and we're totally mindful of it, but we also have to be mindful of the size of the pie that we're biting. So my humble recommendation is take the incremental steps. We are growing a town. Somebody asked me today, when will San Pedro become the next city, Minister? We can only become a city if we have the facilities to be considered a city. We can't have one city and then we have up north, we don't have no streets, and we don't have no drainage, we don't have no public facilities. So we have to do this in an incremental way, but your concern is absolutely noted, and it is why it is imperative that we have one strong governance body on the island that can engage with our partners in central government to monitor how these pristine areas are managed. That is really what we are responsible to do, whether at the town council or whether the central government. We can't allow to lose the pristineness of this place called Isla Bonita and its surrounding areas, because as the lady said, she pointed out the figures, over $4 million goes. So we have to do work in that area. But let's take this incremental step towards building this community. The last time we did, I think none of us really were really adults and that type of thing. But we inherited it. But now make we left it so after we are done. So that's what I would say to you. Okay, we had 3 more questions. I think the lady first here, and then the...
Hi, I'm Diane Lawrence, operate Quicksilver Messenger Service. Been here 18 years, citizen for 6. I've seen since we had the regulation of buildings no higher than a palm tree to now 7 floors high. Can't even walk up that many floors. Now, I've also seen where we get mega developments like Alaya and Marriott, and the developers take the money and run. And once the heads and beds get there, we only have the money that stay in the US or in the UK or wherever, and only our employees here get the dosh. So, where is the money to help with the infrastructure to assist with roads and parking and septic and sewage and street lighting and that goes from the developer to our town boards to help them build this infrastructure? Is it all supposed to come from Belmont? Or is it from the developers that just build it and go and leave us with the mess of traffic or septic or seawalls or whatever else?
Come back to that, the gentleman right here.
Good night. My name is Gabriel Zatina. You know, I love this island. This is where I'm gonna, well, I already have a daughter. She's gonna go here if I have more kids. This is where I'm gonna be living forever. So I do have to say, when I came today to this meeting, I had high expectations. However, I'm a bit disappointed at the proposed new boundaries. Why? Because even you emphasized that the boundaries right now that San Pedro Town Council manages, it's a lot of work, it's complex. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be perfect. There's always going to be issues. But what I'm saying is that we can't keep playing catch up. Minister Andrew Parrish just mentioned that BEL is playing catch up right now with this electricity crisis. So when I came here, I thought that San Pedro would be, maybe there would be a portion for village council and a portion for San Pedro Town Council to manage. I mean, it's time for us to start, because look how long it took for us to get here, to get this proposal. So are we going to wait, what, another 30, 50 years and then play catch up again? I don't know. That's just my opinion. But what do you think? Turning the northern side, maybe right now, because there's not a lot of people, not a lot of development, yet village and maintain what San Pedro has right now as before.
Thank you very much. I'll respond shortly, but I'll give Ms. Arceo a chance to give her opinion.
Good night, Mr. King. Good night,
Thank you.
everybody. My name is Ms. Patty Arceo, and I have proudly served my community as deputy mayor and also as area representative. As such, I have also witnessed the many challenges that the governments have had, both local and on the national level. I am really happy and I support what we're doing to the exercise. However, I would like to see the legislation included in there, especially Cayo Rosario, because at the end of the day, all these little islands, there are traditional fishing places for us locals, not only as fishermen during my parents' time, but now as the fly fishing guides and fishermen guides also that go back there. Because at the end of the day, it is the area representative's office and it's the mayor's office who are always targeted. But what can they do if that is not included as part of San Pedro? I am very happy to see that the boundaries are being expanded because this shows a big trust. However, a big responsibility.
Absolutely.
Like what you said, Mr. King, that government is also putting back to us. But with responsibility comes a financial stability. And like Ms. Symes, who is in real estate, and she is as local as we go right here, we need that place to be developed. From the real estate point of view, there's a substantial amount of money going monthly to central government. Coming to local government, and please correct me, I think there's a 60,000 subvention. It is monthly?
69.
69, thank you for the kind 9,000. But there's a couple of millions collected every month. So I would appreciate through your ministry, because I'm sure the two good gentlemen, our area representative and the mayor, have solicited many a times for the Ministry of Local Government to let us look to increase the subvention of San Pedro. And right now, with the responsibility of expansion, we would need that financial stability to properly manage that area.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. King.
Very good, thank you so much. Just let me just kind of reflect on Mayor and the area. You feel free to help me to chime in on these questions. Absolutely, the concern from Ms. Diane regarding the returns of the investments is important. In terms of your comment, it's totally understood what you're saying, but there's also something in development that is called leapfrogging development. And one of the ways that you leapfrog development is to build capacity. And one of the obligations or one of the tasks that the town council will need to do is to build its capacity. I'll give an example. While Belize City is highly more populated than San Pedro, the level of economic activity on this island far is beyond Belize City. But Belize City budget, the annual budget for Belize City is around $26 million. For San Pedro, it's less than $15 million. We know, just from the analysis that we've done, that the capacity for San Pedro to collect is possible to be more than $26 million that Belize City collects. So we have a significant shortfall there. And the only way that we could really get to where we should be able to get to is if we build the capacity to do it, the capacity of the council to do it, so that these issues regarding development can be addressed. If we're going to talk about monitoring all of these areas, we have to build capacity. Capacity in human resources particularly, capacity in digitization, capacity in planning. We need to do those things if we're going to properly manage this island. And then the final point that I wanted to make regarding the subvention has been at $69,000, not monthly, annually, for a very long time. Yeah. But there's also support that the council gets. But indeed, that is something that the mayor has indicated to us, even Mayor Guerrero from this time, and previous mayors have indicated. And so that is something that we are aware that we have to do some work on in terms of the annual subvention to the island. That's sorry? And yeah, so we do, yes, he had to pay a loan from before. But we need to address it. So that's a fair comment. But absolutely, we need to leapfrog the development of the entire island, and the way to do it particularly is to do the strategic planning and building capacity. And it's a huge undertaking at the council. Even the town council building right now has, there's more space that is needed. And they may have to begin to look at where will be the alternative place for town hall, because it's just not sufficing the requirement of the town. But let's come to the gentleman here.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Steve Boyne. I'm a part of the San Pedro Tour Guide Association and the JP Association as well. All right. What am I concerned? You see the northernest dot you have marker right there? Right there, the pin marker, the yellow one.
That one?
Yeah, the middle one right there. The first, the most northernest one.
The lagoon?
No, right there, the back, right there.
This one here?
No, the next one.
This one, yeah.
The first one, you touch up, correct. You see that right there? One of my biggest concerns, why are they digging up, not that one, the one down on the bottom there. Right there, up, right there. Why are they digging up that land instead of building the community there? They taking the earth from there and then they fill up the lagoon where the bonefish they nest or go the hatchery and everything. They're very good hatch ground, right? But if they may build a community there, everything may okay. Because you see them hole when they dig when they call it quarry, these holes they're 30, 40, 50 feet deep. They really weaken the earth itself, the island. That's the main structure of the island right there, that's the backbone, right? And then they fill up these lagoons, nursery, these hatchery. Now, if everybody in there, 2000, when Hurricane Keith came, man, you go back to this island, you may feel sorry for the mangrove name. Everybody dry up, burn up, they look like dead. 2 years later, everything like it never been touched. But right now, like what Mr. Leslie said, us, they capitalize upon that. Right now, it's all the lagoon full up, all the lagoon. When we get next storm, all of that mud, but then they dig up from there, and head straight to a reef. It's already started. It just want to start to rinse off. I'm going to sit on the reef because we're not going to no mangrove anymore. And this the way they look. We should build a community up there. That's the way the plan should be. Because the land high, solid, everything there right there. Instead of the full up near lagoon right now. Because it's going from the reef, partner. Right now, if you go to the southern end of this island, where there are 3 big buildings there, everybody sees from miles away. A few years ago, pristine mangrove to the marine reserve. Now, the building is pretty much in the water already. You know? And all this white marl, which belongs up there, will fill up the lagoon. So this one be the next disaster. That is when, if it could happen this year alone, that is when everything I know upon the reef. Then all the big hotels where they build, now have no value because the reef now under there. And affect everybody. That's my concern about this whole situation.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes.
Hi, good evening. I'm Karen Wade Canoe. I own a scuba dive center, Ambergris Divers, along with my husband, who's the chair for the Tour Operators Association. I think I will say it because everybody wants to say it, but not everybody will get the mic. We want Cayo Rosario included, and the little piece on the south that was reduced, please stretch it back briefly. That whole area, Sete Canales, is a very important filtration system. Yes, it's a very important filtration system for the complete ecosystem of what Ambergris Caye is. Every time tourists ask, where's the beach? No, we don't have that. What we have is an ecosystem. And better described as a life cycle. So everything is part of Ambergris Caye. So the best way, if it took us 31 years to do this exercise, let's do it properly. And it's not a big, it's not a big, how did you say, a piece of the pie or something? It's not too much of a big pie, because we already have to chew big without the resources. So it's like, all along it has been the cart before the mule. Let's be prepared. Let's include all the Bajos, Cayo Rosario. I would like to say Cayo Bernardo above, and let's get back the southern tip that has been reduced, okay? And yeah, the size of the pie is not big. We've been dealing with it. And so now, with the proper markers, with the proper legal framework in place, then we have the foundation to work towards. Now what happens? All the time, finances are always a problem. Development has run by twilight years ahead of us, and we've been unprepared. My opinions and things that I say are always unpopular. If I'm the devil's advocate and that's going to be my nickname, I'll take it. Taxation. Taxation is completely primitive to what Ambergris Caye is, and even by extension, our other tourism destinations in the country. If we set an example, it's going to make positive examples to follow for all the other tourism areas in the rest of the country, because Placencia, Hopkins, San Ignacio, all of them are having the same problems that we're already having. They always say, oh, Kikaker is like 10 years what San Pedro was. Yeah, and Kikaker is going to have the same problems that we are having now. So if we can be bold and put in the steps that are needed, and then here comes the unpopular opinion. Property taxes. Whatever the formula is, it needs to be trashed immediately. If there is anybody that has to get hired, any company that has to get hired, are professionals that will help identify the proper calculation for property taxes. Sort of like when you calculate freight by size, volume, and weight, because there are, let's say, half an acre or quarter acre property, quarter acre ground size properties on this island that, let's say, pay, I'm going to be high in number, let's say they pay $500 a year property tax. Yet, as Ms. Diane says, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Half of that 7, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So divide the $500 billion by all those individual strata titles that are contained in that very small footprint. They divide it and they charge their homeowners association, they charge each of them $500 a year. But only $500 goes into the government, the municipality coffers. How long do you think that $500 for that property lasts? It's only worth like 1 month's worth of garbage collection for the amount of services that we need. The calculations for property tax have to be completely different. What also has to be factored in is the type of property it is and what it generates. Now I'm going to move on to Secret Beach, and this is going to be the real unpopular one. Secret Beach was first $10,000 Belize lots because it had been projected to be the next municipality for locals. But there were some people that were able to afford a lot of $10,000. And so it was bought in bulk, and then it got 15,000, then it turned into 15,000 US just 8-10 years ago, and right now they're going for what, $200,000? Exactly. How much property tax is that $1.2 million property paying? It's done in 1 week, it's done by the amount of services the area needs. And you know what's the worst part? Only the stamp duties get paid, and they don't even come to the municipality. All of the monies are transacted in foreign lands. It is not even required to come into our central banking system to strengthen our Belizean dollar. So there's a lot of factors that, it's like an octopus. Everything has a lot of arms, and everything is connected in so many different ways. So San Pedro Town will be growing fine. The first order is to get a really good company, urban planning, whatnot, but somebody to come in and calculate what the true figures for property tax should be, so that when all those other property owners come and say, I want my garbage picked up every day, I want to be protected, and I need the fire engine to be able to get to me in 5 minutes. All of that costs money, but their $500 Belize ain't gonna cut it. It no way give.
That's it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much so much for that. Be bold. The lady said be bold. I agree with you. So I want to hear from the mayor. Mayor?
I just wanted to ask you, Mr. King, and local government, what would it take, because I know this is a proposed area, but what would it take to expand it? Because initially, when we came up with this idea, my take was take it out from the border all the way up to Cayo Cangrejo, including all the surrounding keys. And I understand that it has always been said, you know, you have to watch out what you're asking for. But if we are looking at future development and we're looking at trying to protect all these areas, let the town council be the oversight. Let's take it from the border at Bocaler Chico all the way to Cayo Cangrejo, all the surrounding keys, including and to the reef, and including Blacador Key. We don't have to get all the way to the other two keys, the Salones, but at least to Blacador. Right.
That side that you're talking about.
Thank you very much, Mayor. The question is what it takes. The proposal just needs to be made to Cabinet in terms of what comes out of the discussions and what we're agreeing on to do, no?
Our minister will take it to Cabinet.
But our minister first place, yeah. So, yeah. It will go through that stage, but yes, there's nothing wrong with taking the recommendations. Yes, sir.
Yes, good night, everyone. My name is Miguel Alamia. I'm a business owner, marine biologist, and citizen of this island and the country. And I understand your boundaries and the limitations, your southern and northern limitations, because on the south you have the Holchan Marine Reserve from Boca Chica, Cangrejo, all that is Zone C of the Holchan Marine Reserve. And Holchan even goes further to the west, all the way to Los Salones, you have two little islands there, Los Salones, and all that shoal there. Cayo Mosquito is not inside. Cayo Sabana, yes. And so that's probably the limit. In terms of development, if you add all the way to San Pedro, we need commitment from the government not to have any development there, because that was our concern and that was our belief when we expanded the Marine Reserve and included Cayo Rosario and all those shows in that area, that we felt that they were fully protected now. They were part of a Marine Reserve, and even further, Cayo Rosario and Cayo Savannah, Cayo Mosquito, not Cayo Mosquito, the other one, Salones, are conservation zones within the Marine Reserve, which require special protection because we identify them as being important nursery sites, as I think Mr. Steve mentioned, for and fishing areas for our livelihood, for our fly fishermen. So that's in the south. That's our boundary. So Al Cangrejo is included within the Holchan Marine Reserve, and the Holchan Marine Reserve goes westward toward the mainland Belize and eastwards toward the reef. And then Cayo Frances should also be is also part of the Holchan Marine Reserve and some of those wetlands below. At the moment, Cayo Frances is pretty much dead, according to most fishermen, and fishermen are well knowledgeable because they used to use those areas for many years, and now they're pretty much unusable, right? Because of what Mr. Steve mentioned. So I should not go there anymore. I support Cayo Rosario being included, right, in terms of being an offshoot of Ambergris Caye. And then you have the northern boundary, all the way, that's Santa Cruz there, and then all the way to Robles Point. And that's all that forested area, all the way to the border, that's Cantena Lagoon, and all the way, the yellow line is the border with Mexico. That's the Bacalar Chico National Park, right? Again, not supposed to be developed, supposed to be protected, and even further, Bacalar Chico is a World Heritage Site. Give it greater importance, not only to Belize, but to the world. And beyond the eastern limit of that red line, yeah, that's Robles Point. And beyond Robles Point, halfway before you get to Rocky Point, that's one of the most important turtles nesting beach, not only for Ambergris Caye, for Belize, right? That's where we get loggerheads, green turtles, and even hawksbills, one of the rarest sea turtles in the world, nest there, all right? And that coastal fringe is not part of the Marine Reserve, of the National Park. That coastal fringe is excluded. It's private property, and it was private property before it was created as a protected area. So that's why it's excluded, and it's specified within the legislation. So I think if we are biting the pie, as the mayor and others have mentioned, let's go all the way, because these people are getting isolated, because the nearest community is Escalante in Mexico, not San Pedro here. Right, so we are isolating them even further, right? And I think we need a voice up there in the form of town representatives, because those turtle netting beach are very important for conservation, as is Cayo Rosario and other areas in the neighborhood of Ambergris Caye. So that's what I want to add. Let's pull it upward and include those areas there that represent value to most of us here on to all of us here on the island.
Very good. Thank you very much, Senor. This is what these kinds of discussions do. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with this. This is exactly what these kinds of discussions do. When we're hearing from the people on the ground why certain things are important. So really what we're talking is about how do we build the environmental sustainability and the economic sustainability of the island. Really that's what I'm hearing. And of course which transfers into the social cohesiveness of the island. And so you're absolutely right, Mom, when you're talking about how do we build the financial sustainability of the town council. And remember I spoke about capacity building, right? That's exactly what we're talking about. So I absolutely agree. We're talking to the choir, but again, you're saying sometimes these things are unpopular because nobody wants to say it. But we need to hear it. So I totally agree with you. But it's food for thought. There's lots of food for thought, and clearly we have to go back to the drawing board to look at what this reconfiguration of San Pedro tongue should look like in terms of the declaration and fixing of the new municipal boundaries. Okay, we're coming near to the end. I know we have another comment there, the lady at the back, so let's agree to take a few more questions and then we wrap up for the night. I think the former mayor wants to make a comment as well. Just check it, please. All right, you can.
Good night. My name is Shelley Huber. I have never thought that we are going to see a map of San Pedro Ambergris Caye being that way. San Pedro should include every single area that comes under Ambergris Caye. Cayo Rosario, we demonstrated Cayo Rosario a few years ago on the past government, and we were promised that that was never going to be touched. All of Cayo Rosario and all of those bajos are the livelihood of this entire community, that is our bread and butter. Their children are being taught in those places how to fish, and in the schools and everywhere to protect this island. I really don't know what time that happened, but a few months ago, I heard the news. And in the news, they were saying that Bacalar Chica and all of them, and most of the people that are involved in that area came from Sarteneja. I would like to find out why or how many. Why does Sarteneja was included in that area when Sarteneja has their area to mine? This is an area that the San Pedranos and the people that work and live here and their livelihood depends on that are the people that are supposed to be in these committees and take care of it. And if it takes the people to go to Belmopan and try and change what is happening, I think we should go, because that is a livelihood and that map is unacceptable. I'm very, very upset. I was one of the first persons that had a restaurant and had tourism here in San Pedro. When we used to take the tourism suitcase in wheelbarrows, and we even used to climb the coconut trees if they wanted fresh coconut. Look what San Pedro has done. What an amazing place we have. What a gorgeous paradise. And we're not telling anybody, don't come and eat, don't come and work. Be a part of the community. And I will say this over and over again. When we elect a government, we elect a government to talk to the people and ask the people if this is okay. Not bring us something that our beautiful Ambergris Caye is tapped up. So I disagree with that map.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the intervention. And just for clarification, so we don't walk away with the wrong impression, the map that you see in yellow, the line that you see, that's the official boundaries of the town. The one in red is what we're proposing, and what we're hearing is that persons would like further expansion of the red line. So just let's have clarification, right? We're not disagreeing, so we're not disagreeing with each other. We're talking similar language. Okay, I think we'll have two more comments. I think Miss Symes wants to reiterate something or make a final point, and then we'll give the former mayor a chance to make his comments. So you have another thing that you wrote there?
Yeah. Hi everybody again. Something that wasn't mentioned, which is common knowledge that I just wanted to make sure was mentioned, was that our island is 26 miles long. Mm-hmm. San Pedro is centralized 6 miles north of the channel of Boca Chica. The development observed is primarily concentrated down to 4 miles south and about 5 miles north. Approximately 10 miles is densely developed. We're struggling to have our infrastructure in these areas, let alone farther. Let's see. To Gabriel's point, I wanted to say that I was wondering, was it ever thought to create a new town in these further to reach areas? Will those plans will these plans of the proposed subdivision or redelineation, will these plans in the future include more police stations, fire stations, hospitals, schools? Okay, good. Because having to come down on a little golf cart from 15 miles north is difficult. And on the map that it has the proposed, that's 15 miles north, that is the Robles area, and then north of that is the Bacalar Chico area. I was just wondering as well, is there proposed zoning, or is that like the next step after the redelineation, so including commercial and residential, etc.? Is there a plan of what to do with the top of Ambergris Caye, which is the Bacalar Chico Reserve? If no one has been up there, I actually have a 3-part series on my YouTube channel, Sunrise Realty Belize, that showcases a trip that we've taken all the way up north, and like you mentioned, it is just wild up there. The wildlife we have is gorgeous. There's actually a museum and a Coast Guard Ranger station on the west coast of the island up there. The channel at the north of the island has a rich history, and that is what makes us an island and not a part of Mexico. Is there a plan to what to do with the north of Ambergris Caye? Just a couple more points in addition to what Roberto, Diane, and Karen said. Regulations of buildings above 5 stories. I've been told from the building authority here on the island that anything more than 5 stories is to be handled by the Central Building Authority, and that includes infrastructure and the foundation, everything from sewer to electricity, etc. In addition to the marketplaces, I was wondering if it could be considered that we could have a localized strip of boutiques, gift shop, bars, and restaurants to alleviate the town council's need to beautify every single area of the island. Maybe we could start with a centralized location to keep clean, healthy, and a good place for the visitors to visit and be comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the intervention. So really what all of that starts with, as the mayor indicated in his welcoming remarks, is really the development planning for the island. And so that's a huge undertaking, but it is a much needed undertaking, because all of these things that we're talking about really starts with planning. And that's, once the town council has this as its jurisdiction, it will be the obligation of the council to start doing those planning. And so municipal governance is no longer what it used to be, just pick up the garbage and dump it and clean the drains and chop the parks and playground. It's really about building sustainable communities that are not leaving anyone behind. And that's a huge undertaking. And just these things to the council tonight and to us in government, the town council will need the kind of support to do this kind of work, because it's yeoman's work. It's a huge job, and they will need support. And it's not going to be perfect, but we're not going to sacrifice good because we want perfect. But we really have to start doing it with planning. So let's hear from the former mayor. I think you had a comment, Mayor, that you wanted to make, and then we'll do some wrapping up. Proceed one more time. Yeah.
Okay. Well, former Mayor Daniel Guerrero, Minister Perez, Mayor Nunez, councilors, Director of Local Government, residents, well, thank you very much for the audience today for this information, I would say. And you were very right. We started this thing pretty early during our administration. I think the mayor was our councilor then. And we did a lot of work on it, and we started with the yellow one, which is the Boca Chica going up to Basil Jones. That's Basil Jones where it ends. And actually, Well, the red that you see there is basically the same, but we had two maps. We were working with two maps, if you recall, because we were not sure which one. But, and also, we had some delays, like you mentioned. It's because at those time, we were declaring reserves, and we didn't want to do a lot of stuff at the same time. But the reason why this thing never went through at this stage is because COVID came, and we couldn't have no kind of consultation because of the COVID. But I totally agree with the group here, because the second map we had the entire map of Ambergris Caye with all the adjacent keys. But what happened, if I recall, the Ministry of the Environment had mentioned these are already reserves, and that's why there was this back and forth with the council. But I totally agree, and my suggestion to it would be that if government has them out and leave them as how nature has it, because that's why tourists come here, visitors come here for the flat fishing, sport fishing, and even us. I mean, it's not only about the visitors, it's about us. We can take our family there and to see nature, because I'm telling you, if we destroy all that, our grandchildren will see what used to be on the internet. It will no longer be there. So to me, it's a big undertaking, but that's the only way we can protect those islands, because as far as I can recall, the Cayo Rosario we were against. And the Cayo Rosario had a plan to build the over the water structures. I think it was quite a bit. And also, they own property on Secret Beach. And that's where they were going to do the laundry, the trash, everything. So all the dirty work will be done on this side. And again, if you look at the Blackador Caye, if they develop, they want to keep it as green as they can, sacrificing this one. And the same thing I don't want to hit, but I think Carlos Panto, I don't know, they have a generator there. We don't know what's happening with the diesel, with the oils and things like that, and the garbage. I'm not hitting them, but I'm just putting this because that's exactly what will happen. There's a small little island right behind Cayo Rosario where Prince has his building. We don't know what's going on there right now. But you see, these are the things like that. Those white areas, they're all bajos. They're sandbars. So if we are not careful and nobody has jurisdiction, that's the problem. Governments have always been in and out, and San Pedro has to take the lead. So we have to make sure that it takes all the adjacent keys there, or the little islands. I am with you guys. If government can buy them out, get a loan somewhere and just buy them all out, and it turns to be national treasures. People will come here just to see them. They're all private, so they will develop. And also the 11,000 acres of reserve that Miguel was talking about, I think, if I recall, that was exempted from the boundaries. The reserves, I think that's why probably you exempted the bottom one.
Yes.
So reserves are exempted because nobody can do anything on the reserves, but I would be more, I think I will feel more comfortable if they're really in the jurisdiction of the council. Because, like I always mention, any person who puts their name to run, they run with a good sense of protecting the island, helping the island, and we have all done that. So, but when we don't have our central government, that's what they were talking about. They will give you permissions to do something and we can't do anything. We don't have the jurisdiction. So if we have jurisdiction, it complicates things in Belmopan. Because you see what happens, they will bypass the mayor. That happens a lot. So I know it's a big task for the area rep to present this, whether it's the National Assembly or Cabinet. It's a huge, huge town boundary that we are asking, we are requesting. But we are not only requesting, we have a purpose. We have why we need it, is to protect it, to protect that actually from Belmopan, you know. Because it's Belmopan doing these things. It's not us, the islanders. I think Shelley was right, and so was Christine and Billy and Roberto and Karen. That's the reality, and we have to be, you know what, there's one thing. It doesn't matter who does it, we are all Belizean. It's not about red and blue. We are all Belizeans. This is our home. So we need to protect it. So I think Steve did a good job also because, you know, those things are happening and it will continue to happen if we don't have the jurisdiction of it.
Thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much. Yes, the fringe is there. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Before we close off, Mayor, I want to give you an opportunity. Your rep, I want to give you an opportunity to say some final words before we get to the acknowledgement. Mayor?
Well, good night, everyone. Thank you very much for coming, and I too am in agreement with including the entire island and the surrounding keys. Just want everybody to know, and I would like Mr. King to draw it back, and then we can present it back to the public. All right. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming out tonight. Hope you have a very restful night.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. And Mr. King, thank you so much for this important exercise here where everybody has a right to speak. And you know, this is what the consultation is all about. I'll want to end with this. Look, we are going into 4 years into government this November. I can confidently say that what we have done in the last 5 years clearly shows the political will that this government has. It would be futile for me to say right now what wasn't done in the past 15 years. It would be futile for me to be discussing about those boundaries and how some back in 93 it was drawn back, scaled back for political reasons. That's not the point here. I too support that we extend the boundaries over here. However, there are good points to discuss. For example, those islands there that we're talking about, indeed they're pristine. We always go there. We go there for swimming. And I support it. This Caye project that is going on right now, indeed it is controversial. I've spoken to many of the folks who directly will be impacted. In particular, some of those fly fisherman folks and everything. I told them, why don't we get together? It's about buying, like how the former mayor is saying, all these islands we can all pull together. So, but if we are going to be to the point where bitterly divided and accusations and pointing fingers, we're not going to go anywhere. We're not going to go anywhere. Indeed, this is our island. This is Belize. We have a responsibility to take care of this island because we need to showcase it as Belize. And Ambergris Caye, of course. So we all have a collective responsibility. So tonight, I am proud to be here standing because consultation is most important. And that is the hallmark of our government. We have done consultation for so many other things, and we've gotten into trouble. But that is what defines our political party. And I don't want to get political, but it's the truth. Consultation is the name of the game. I'm proud to be standing here. We can take the jabs, we can take the criticisms, constructive criticism, I think all of it as such, but I'm proud to be here to let you know that our government is listening. So thank you very much. Good evening.
Thank you very much, and please let's not leave without giving an opportunity to the tongue administrator, Mr. Rene Guzman, to give the vote of thanks.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Mr. King. I would like to say thank you very much, first of all, to Mr. King and his ministry, the Department of Local Government. As I know it's a arduous task, as you rightfully mentioned, it has been something being done in the past. We have sat down with the mayor, the councils, and we have come up with a proposal. And I must say, special thank you to the residents of San Pedro. This is the first in, I believe, I would think that there would be more consultations to be had. I agree with what Minister Perez said, and with this administration, we're here to consult with the people. It's not something that will be thrown to your face and say, this is it, and no. Your concerns, your interventions, everything that you have said was well taken. I know Mr. King will have a big report to take back to submit to the ministry. And again, I know this will be not a back and forth conversation, but something come back to us. We'll listen to you again. And there are, for sure, I know certain things that we will iron out straight away, like what Minister Perez said. Some things, and the young lady, Ms. Cannell, rightly said, some things may be unpopular, but if it has to be done for the residents living now, and as we had talked about and listened for future generations to come, it is something that certainly will work out. So, Mr. King, on behalf of the San Pedro Town Council, on behalf of the Office of the Area Rep also, thank you very much for coming to San Pedro, sensitizing our residents, those of us here present, those of us who are viewing online. Thank you very much also for tuning in and listening. We certainly thank you again very much for the work, and again for all of you guys. Thank you very much. Ms. Humes, you're part of it also. Thank you for the presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. A pleasant good evening. And also I can't stop saying thank you to the media houses that are here for, transmitting this to the general public of San Pedro, and even the residents who are not on San Pedro, but listening to all the information that was shared today. Again, thank you very much. Have a pleasant good evening.